Mishnah to Zayin.
That's Tezayin with base?
No, I'm at Aleph. No?
No. Daf Tezayin with base. Bottom. You weren't here last week. That's why.
What was last week? Monday.
Monday.
I should have been here. I was here last week.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, Tezayin with base on the bottom. I'm going to go back a little bit to summarize. I think the ending was a little bit rough ending.
Are we got up to the part of leaning the hand on the cows?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Correct, yeah. Good think.
Hear me, some soup.
Good thinking.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Yeah. Choice. Bowls, cups,
Hands.
and it's staying warm on that thing. You see that?
The Satmar likes it with the hands. They eat everything with the hands.
Only like there's an Indian. They eat fish with the hands. Have to
The
make
shirayim. They eat the shirayim with the hands.
Because with this couple, it's a whole
You don't
thing.
want to be the guy at the end of the line that gets the last piece of shirayim.
Okay, so in our Mishnah, we're going to do a summary and then we're going to continue on. In the last Mishnah that we had, we mentioned that this was the first, recorded the first machloikas of Tanoim, where they had, people had opinions in the past as well, but this is the first time when they couldn't come to a conclusion. They couldn't come to a consensus and say, and all agree on even though we agree in the opinion, but they come to a certain conclusion, a certain halacha, psak. And this is the first time they split.
What do you mean? But the Gemarrah this is not the first Gemarrah. It's not the first time.
This is what they say here.
Even if it's not chronological, I highly doubt this was.
No, this is not.
time that
We
they
see
spoke
David
about
Melech by the time of Shaul Melech there was a machlokes and Shlomo Melech, but over there, they explained it over there. Even though there was a difference of opinion, eventually they came to a certain place and they said, okay, even though we have a difference of opinion, what's the halacha? And they all agreed that the halacha is so and so. And in this case, they couldn't agree. And this is the first time there was machlokes, and from then on, many machlokes happened where Beshamai did a certain way, Besil did a certain way, and then from then on, many people paskin different things. And today we have that split. We have people saying certain things. For example, in the Kislev in the Haim Yom, that's really Kabbalah and Halacha, but in the Kislev in the Haim Yom, it says that the Shlich Tzibur does not wrap himself with a talis. That's what it says in the Kislev. The source of it is Kabbalah, really. It says, according to Kabbalah, it's a sakana to wrap your head. Not only Shlich Tzibur, but anyone. To daven Shabbos, Mincha, Ma'anev, with a talis over the head is an inyan of a sakana. So, which is by Mashenkin and everyone else's in the other Kreisen, and by the Polishers and the Veltisha, it's the opposite. For Shlich Tzibur to go to the Amud without a talis, it's not covered. That speaks about it different letters also. What you do if you go to a place, you put it down, put it up. But we see we have splits. There's pashat, a difference in halacha. We do like this, they do like this, we do like that, they do like this. In any case, so the first machlokas was whether on Yontif, whether you do smicha, whether you lean onto the cow. We said last week that leaning on the cow has to be with full strength. We're gonna redo that today, the full strength. The machlokas really, I just saw what's it called, depending on the Gemarrah that we're going to learn today. The machlokas actually is not so much whether to say that there's an issue with pushing down the head of the animal because it looks like doing an avodah on Yontif. We said the reason why there's a machlokas, why you're not allowed to push the head of the animal down, is because it looks like you're doing an avodah on Yontif. It looks like you're using the animal on something, and there is a shvus, there's a isur d'Rabbanan to ride a donkey on Shabbos and Yontif. There's no halacha in the Torah that you're not allowed to ride a donkey on Shabbos and Yontif. There's a shvus that Rabbanan said you're not allowed to ride a donkey, and doing smicha looks like that kind of shvus. So the machlokas really is whether that shvus is so strong and it takes away the need of it to do it on Shabbos. So Bashamai says, and the machlokas actually depends on another machlokas. Bashamai, that's connected with the Gemarrah today. Bashamai says that smicha does not have to be done right before you shech the animal. You can do it a day or two before. It does not have to be right before shechting the animal. And Beis says it has to be. Therefore, Beis says it must be right away. So the only time I can do it is on Yontif when I bring the korban on Yontif. Therefore, the Lach that Torah says that you have to do smicha is overpowers the Shavuos of the Rabbanan that say that you can't ride an animal on Shabbos and Yom Tov. You can't use an animal on Shabbos. The Shammai says no. Yes, the mitzvah of the Torah overpowers the Shavuos. However, you don't have to do smicha right before you shechting an animal. You can lean on the animal a day before. And therefore, B'Shammai and all the other opinions say no, do it on Erev Shabbos. Do it on Erev Yom Tov.
How would that even be an option? Because he has a das.
Doesn't make a difference. I said it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You can do smicha and then
as long as b'shas the smicha you have.
You buy the kalban on Friday, so then you do smicha, and you drop it off on Erev Yom Tov.
I might be jumping the gun, but it seems like the concept of whether you blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah or not blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. If you don't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah in the Beis Hamikdash, if you have enough chachamim or people around it who know what they're doing, you can blow it on the outside because you might carry and then go ask somebody how to do it. So the same thing applies here. In the Beis Hamikdash itself, you have the people who are knowledgeable, therefore you can do it. Outside, you might not know exactly what you are doing.
So it's actually you're touching on an interesting point. I believe it says that in Beis Hamikdash there was no shvus. Anything that the Chacham said you're allowed to do.
They were rabbis
right.
already.
So here we must say that a machlekes is not whether you're allowed to do a shvus on Yom Tov in Beis Hamikdash. You're allowed to do a shvus on Yom Tov in Beis Hamikdash. Machlekes is here whether you can do the smicha before. Anything it says the halacha on Yom Tov is ein ben Shabbos li Yom Tov. There's no difference in Shabbos and Yom Tov. Elo tzorech echel nefesh blatt. Only things that you need. You're allowed to light a fire on Yom Tov. If you need to cook, you can't extinguish a fire, right? You can't extinguish it from it. You're allowed to cook. You're allowed to shecht. You're allowed to carry from place to place. But everything only let's say oichel nefesh. Okay, carrying it says even though if once they allowed you to carry on Yom Tov for food, you can also carry other items as well. But in general, the difference with Shabbos Yom Tov is only with regards to making food. Comes when we're tying it back into what your question about doing it in the Beis Hamikdash.
Yeah.
So everyone agrees that in Beis Hamikdash you have to do smicha, and smicha overpowers the whole concept of shvus, which doesn't even exist in Beis Hamikdash. The problem here is the same thing with the Torah allowing us to do stuff on Yom Tov. The Torah only allowed us to do stuff that you couldn't do Erev Yom Tov. If I was able to cook food in Erev Yom Tov that would last good, be fresh and good for the next day, technically I'm not allowed to cook that on Yom Tov. Why? Because you had the time before Yom Tov to do it. You're not allowed to start grinding pepper and salt on Yom Tov if you had the ability to do it before Yom Tov. In certain halachas, we're not going into details, but there's many halachas that anything you were able to do before Yom Tov, you can't say, because Yom Tov I need it anyways, I can do it. No, it doesn't work like that. So the same thing also with smicha, according to Shammai, almost nothing to do with shvus. You could do it before Yom Tov, so don't do it on Yom Tov. Even though, technically in Beis Hamikdash there's no shvus. Anyways, what were you getting to over here? So the Gemarrah says that machlokes whether you're supposed to do smicha on an animal, lean on an animal on Yom Tov, and B'Shammai says no, Basil says yes, and all the other five opinions, just the 5 opinions that way. The Gemarrah on Daf Zayin Amud Beis learned 3 things from this concept about smicha, this machlokes on smicha. Number 1, it teaches you that because this concept that was discussed was about shvus, the whole issue of doing smicha on an animal is because of the Rabbanan said you can't ride on an animal. That riding on an animal is a shvus. So they took it a step further and says smicha can also not be done because even though, like we said, shvus doesn't exist in Beis Hamikdash, and the Torah overpowers the shvus, but if you could do it before Yom Tov, then he should really look at the shvus and say, okay, if I can avoid that avela, avoid it. So what do we see from here? That a shvus is very strong. The Chachamim didn't have arguments. They had arguments for years. They always came to a conclusion. Here is such a place that they argue about a concept that is also because of a shvus. This is teaching you that the shvus is not something to take lightly. So the first thing the Gemarrah is going to tell you that a shvus, do not ever take a shvus lightly. The Chacham said you can't do something. Look at it as it's Torah Sinai. Look at it as Torah Pasha they give from the Eibush and Sinai. That's number 1. You should never take a shvus lightly. That's number 1. Number 2, the Gemarrah goes back and forth. Anyways, basically, it's talking about shvus. The second thing that we learn is that smicha leaning on has to be with full might, and he's gonna bring proof. He's gonna ask a question, and he's gonna stay with the proof. What was the proof? It says, if what?
The lady.
Well, that was the second one. If smicha, what's the problem with doing smicha on Yontif? Doing smicha on Yontif is that you're doing heavy labor, and heavy labor, it looks like you're using the animal on Yontif. And that is a problem. That would be a problem according to Shavuos. So Bashama says, if you can do it out of Yontif, do it out of Yontif. Basil says, no, you can do it out of Yontif. It's not a problem. But the machlaikas is only an argument if it looks like doing a heavy use of the animal, which means you have to push the head of the animal down really hard. That's when it looks like you're using the animal. And if you're just putting your hands on top of the animal, it doesn't look like you're doing anything. So it says, because it's a machlekes whether you're allowed to do it in Yontif or not, it must be that smicha is with all your might. Because if it would not be, if it were just putting on your hand, then what's the problem? Do it. It doesn't look like anything, and it's not a problem with Shavuos. Okay, so the second thing we learn is that smicha is b'chal koich. And this the Gemarrah asked the question with the ladies. It says that there's a machlekes b'shmal. Abesi says ladies do not do smicha at all. B'shmal says they could do. They don't have to. They could do if they bring a korban on their own korban. They could do it. So Abba Lazar says that I was one time in Beis Hamikdash and it brought a calf, and they brought the calf to the ladies section, and the ladies leaned on the calf, and it says, and it was fine, and it says the reason is why they did it, not because the ladies have to do it, but because to make them feel good. The Me Too movement make them feel good. So here's a question: if it is only to make you feel good, I have a very big question. Once you sanctify the animal, once you make the animal kodesh, then you're not allowed to use the animal for anything else, for your own personal gains. Doing smicha for someone to feel good is a personal gain. How can he send the calf into the Ezes Nashim and say, go do smicha, and makes you feel good? How can he do that? Was muss man sagen? That smicha, so we must say that smicha was just tapping your hands on it. Why? Because tapping your hands is not making use of the animal. So if you say that women were allowed to do smicha, it means that women were allowed to just lay their hands on the animal without pushing it down, which means they're not really making use of the animal, and that's why we allow the woman to do it on something that's kodesh. You're allowed to use the animal. So the Gemarrah answers, no. The truth is, they told them not to push it. Smicha is really with the full might. But in that case, they told them don't push it down. Because two reasons. Number one, we're not to make personal use of a davar shebekdusha, of an animal that's kodesh, it's holy. And number two, to make them feel good, we allow them to do smicha. But that basically, the second thing we learned is that smicha is b'chal koicha, that when you do smicha, it has to be with full might, because otherwise there wouldn't be a problem doing it on Yontif. Now we're holding by the third thing. 2 lines in the second line from the bottom. Amar of Papa. Shema Mina, the third thing we see from this halacha about doing smicha, whether or not to do smicha on Yontif, Shema Mina, it's done in. So the animal, the shvus of not being allowed to ride the animal is, where do you ride an animal? On its back. On the back of the animal. So, what did the Chacham say? That the Chacham said that there's a machlokes in a different Gemarrah. If something that you're now to put on, can you put it on the side? If you can't ride on the animal, if there would be some way you can ride on the side of the animal, can you do that? The Chacham said you're now to go on top of an animal and ride the animal on Yontif. What if you do it in a different way? Well, not on top, on the side. Or what if you do any type of usage on the animal on the sideways? Are you allowed to do it or not? So the Papa here wants to say, from here we could tell you that you're not allowed to do it. Why? Because the head is considered the side of the animal. The head is not the back of the animal, it's away from the back. And what are you going to do with the head? You're going to push down on the head. Because the Mishnah has a machlokes whether you're allowed to do it or not, we must say you can only have a machlokes if using sides is also not allowed. If we don't allow using the back of the animal, you're also not allowed to use the side. Okay? So again, shvus is riding on the back of the animal. Machlokes in the Gemarrah and Shabbos is whether you're allowed to ride on its side somehow. Shabbos in Shabbos. Whether you're allowed to ride on its sides. So from here we could say that you're not allowed to ride on its side. You're not allowed to do any usage of the side of the animal. Why? Because if you're allowed to use the side of the animal, then what's the problem? Do smicha on the head. The head is considered the side of the animal, and you can do smicha. From that we say that there's a problem with doing smicha on the side of the animal. It must be that once the back is not allowed, the side is also not allowed. Shema mina tzadin asun. Sides are not allowed. If you would say the sides are allowed, lismach tzadin. Make smicha on the sides, meaning make smicha on the head, which is the side of the animal. It's not on the back of the animal. This is coming to teacher that's done. So this last limud, that sides of the animal are also not allowed to. I don't know when we talk side of the animal, we usually talk about a butcher shop, give it a side. But this is regarding doing a mitzvah, using the animal on Yontif, making use of an animal on Yontif or Shabbos. So from here we can see that sides are also not allowed to, because smicha is done on the side of the animal, and here we have machlokes whether or not you're allowed to do it. It must be, and this is based on the issur of shvus, so we must be, whenever we say that you cannot ride on top, it also includes the sides. If Ami doesn't, Rashi doesn't like that. If Ashi Amar Filatem Mitzvah Matalim, you can say that you're allowed to use the sides. The reason why we have machlokes by the head, that we say the head you're not allowed to do smicha, because the head is on the same plane, on the same level as by an animal. The head is on the same level as the back. So anything from the behind until the front, this whole thing is considered the main animal. So when it says you're not allowed to ride on top of the animal, it meant not on its back, not in the middle, and not on the head, and that's why. But it's not any proof to tell us whether or not you're allowed to use the sides.
So that's for smicha or something?
Smicha,
the original question is, is where in the animal can you do smicha?
The question is the smicha you only do on the head of the animal.
Right.
The question is, here the Gemarrah wants to say that you're not allowed to do smicha on Yontif.
Okay.
That is based on the halacha that you're not allowed to ride the animal on Yontif. So basically, it's teaching you that when the Chum said you can't ride on top of the back of the animal, it includes the entire animal, not only the back. Why? Because the Gemarrah wants to say that smicha is usher because you're not allowed to ride the animal. Now, called the bahada gaba. Anything on the back is considered its back, so the entire thing is back. So Rashi says no, it's not proof. But the other two things we did learn. Okay, Zog the Mishnah. The Mishnah continues. This is a continuation to the Mishnah before. The Mishnah before finished off with the machlokes of Hillel and Shammai. Shammai says no smicha on Yontif. You can do it Friday. Hillel, Shammai says that. Hillel says you have to do smicha immediately before shechting the korban, and therefore smicha is more important and stronger than the shvus of not riding the animal, which includes also not doing smicha, and therefore you're allowed to do it on Yontif. So b'Shammai, continuing with that machlokes, b'Shammai oimlim mevim shlomim ve'in soimich naleim. B'Shammai says that any day of Yontif, if Yontif falls on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can bring a korban shlomim and you don't do smicha, do the smicha the day before. But on Yontif you cannot bring korban oile. Why can you bring a korban shlam? Because b'Shammai says that on Yontif you're allowed to only do things for oichel nefesh, something that you want to eat. So a shlamim, a korban shlamim, some of it the owner eats, some of it the kahanim eat, but someone eats it. So therefore you're allowed to bring korban shlam on Yontif. A korban oile is called Hashem, gets burned on the mizbeach fully, so no one is eating. There's no oichel nefesh, so therefore korban oil you can't do, including oilas re'iyah. So we learned in the beginning that when you come to the Beis Hamikdash, when you do aliyah l'regel on Yontif, you have the korban of the day and you have aliyah oilas regel. B'Shammai says no, the oilah of the Yontif you have to bring on Chol Moed. You can't bring on Yontif. Why? Because it's an oilah. It goes entirely to the Eibishter. And that's why, and even shlamim, if you bring korban shlamim, the korban shlamim is you don't do smicha. V'silaimim mevin shlamim ve'oilos, they have a special limud that they learn that you ought to bring a korban shlamim, and an oila can bring as well. V'soimichin aleim, and you do smicha on both, because like we said before, Hillel says smicha has to do immediately before shechting the animal, and therefore you have to do it. Shlamim for sure you can bring, like he doesn't disagree with Shammai. But even sorry, this is Beis Shammai. But even Oilos Basil says you're allowed to bring. Hey, that's one machlokes. So this machlokes brings us to another machlokes. We have Sukkos. So we have one day Yontif Sukkos, a bunch of the Chol Hamoed, and then Sheminat Atzeres. Pesach we also have the first day Pesach, a bunch of days Chol Hamoed, and the second is of Pesach. And throughout this whole time you can bring Kalbanas. And you have to bring a Kalban the Iya, Shalom Chagiga, a bunch of different Kalbanas. The day that you bring all these Kalbanas is called Yom Tvoyach, day of slaughtering, day of bringing Kalbanas, called Yom Tvoyach. Shavuos has one day Yontif. According to Shammai that said that you cannot bring a Korban Oila, so the Korban Oila from Shavuos you have to bring after Yontif. We said also the Gemarrah is then going to discuss this whole concept of whether Shavuos has a tashlum or not. Whether if you miss a Korban Shavuos,
have 7 days.
Yeah, but it's not so simple. Well, it's a machlokes. Some people say it's only one day. Some people say it doesn't exist. So, what happens if Shavuos falls out on Friday? Okay, so Friday according to Basham, you can bring a Korban. Shabbos you can bring the Korban. So you bring the Korban on Sunday. But Basil is going to say no problem. Bring it on Friday. If it's on Shabbos, everyone agrees you bring it the next day. So that's the Gemara is saying here. Atzeres shecholi is be'ev Shabbos. If Shavuos falls on Erev Shabbos, B'Shama oimnim Yom Tvoyach. One day is the day that you shech all the kabbanas. Achar Shabbos. Friday you can't do it because it's Yontif. Shabbos you can't do it because of Shabbos. Then you bring it Sunday. Ubesil oimnim. Besil say ein Yom Tvoyach achar Shabbos. You do not have to make a Yom Tvoyach after Shabbos. You don't have to. Why? Because you can do it after Shabbos. Moedim, but Basil does agree. Shem chol aliyas b'Shabbos. If Shavuos falls on Shabbos, Shem Tvoyach Shabbos, at the day of Yom Tovim, of bringing all the kabbanas is after Shabbos. Okay, so this machlokes really depends on the machlokes we just had before, whether or not you can bring a korban oila on Yontif. Bashama says no, Basil says yes. So because Bashama says no, he says that all these kabbanas have to be brought after Yontif. Not a machlokes. This is a statement. When you have Sunday, the Yom Tvoyach, Sunday is the day that they bring all these kabbanas. So everyone comes to the Beis Hamikdash. The Kohen Gadol would usually, during Chol Hamoed, the Kohen Gadol would wear his shmoyne begadim. According to Rashi, it's fancy Shabbos clothes. According to Tosfos, it's a shmoyne begadim. His 8 special clothing that he has. So when that Sunday happens, he doesn't put on anything special. According to Rashi, he doesn't even put on Yontif clothing. According to Tosfos, he doesn't put on the shmoyne begadim, the 8 clothing. So the Gemara, ein Kohen Gadol mislabish bekelov. The Kohen Gadol does not put on a special clothes. Not only that, umutoren behesped. In the second day after Shavuos, you're allowed to do a hesped. You eulogize someone that passed away.
There's no remnants of Yontif.
Yeah. Over tainis, and you're allowed to fast if you have a tainis cholam or whatever tainis it is. Shaloi lekayim. The only reason why you're allowed to do that. Shaloi lekayim divrei oimen atzeres ach Shabbos. The tzedaikim had a shitta that Yontif of Shavuos has to be on Sunday. No matter how many days it's after Pesach, no matter days with the Sfira, it doesn't make a difference. Yontif of Shavuos is always going to be, whatever, go 7 days. And then it says Maseches Shabbos has to be Sunday. So in order to show them that it's not, so even though usually the Kohen Gadol would put on clothing, would put specially now to the hesped, they allowed all this just to make sure that they don't say that the Shavuos is on Sunday. And here the question is whether Monday do you continue that custom, or Monday do you go back to Shivas Meit Shlumim where no hesped, no this. So there's a machlokes. But anyways, that's the Mishnah. So the Mishnah basically brings a machlokes of Beshama and Basil, whether you're allowed to bring a korban oila on Yontif or not. Beshama says no, and you have to bring it the next day. Basil says yes, and you can do smicha on that same day as well. That brings us to another machlokes. What if Shavuos is on Friday? When do you bring the kabbanas? Beshama says you can bring it on Yontif. You can bring it on Shabbos. Bring it on Sunday. Basil says no, you can bring it on Friday.
Why can't you bring it on Yontif?
Beshama says an oila you cannot bring on Yontif. Because not so, because there's no one's eating it.
No,
Yeah,
there's other kabbanas you could.
Kabbanas at Tzibur, even if it's a carbon oil, you could bring.
And Shabbos also. No? The book.
Yeah, it's considered the special kabbanas. Your carbon shlomim, you can bring also, but carbon oil not. So this brings us to this whole machlokes whether or not there is tashlumim of shavuos. We touched on this machlokes before, and I think I might cotton. Amar Abelazar Amar Baisha. Minayin latzeres sheyesh le tashlumim. This is might cotton. The other might cotton. We had this. Minayin latzeres tashlumim. How do we know that shavuos, just like sukkahs, when you miss the first day, you can bring it the next couple of days, or Pesach, Pesach that you can bring it the next couple of days? How do we know that Shavuos, which is only one day Yom Tov and that's it, that you can come later on? If you missed you bring in the carbon that day, can you come the next day? So the Lazman said, well, how do we know that? Because it says Shenema b'chag ha'matzois, b'chag ha'shavuos, and b'chag ha'sukkos. It mentions all three Yom Tovim in one pasuk. So it tells you one is like the other. Makish chag ha'shavuos, b'chag ha'matzois. He compares the chag ha'shavuos to chag ha'matzois. Ma chag ha'matzois shloshim kol shiva, just like chag ha'matzois has makeup days, 7 makeup days. Chag ha'shavuos tashlum kol shiva. So also Shavuos has a makeup day, 7 makeup days. Say the Gemarrah, 1 second. The pasuk also mentions chag ha'sukkos. So say the other way, just like sukkahs, there is actually 8 days of sukkahs, and you can bring 8 kabbanas 8 days. So let's say Shavuos also has 8 days. Why do you say that Shavuos is like a matzah, chag pesach? Say the Shavuos is like sukkahs. Say the Gemarrah, ma chag matzah ve'ema makish lechag sukkos. You compare it to the chag sukkos. Ma chag sukkos yesh lo tashum kol shmoina. Af chag Shavuos yesh lo tashum kol shmoina. Say that Shavuos is just like sukkos. Just like sukkos has not only 7 days but has 8 days of bringing kabbanas. So also Shavuos should be able to bring kabbanas for 8 days. So says the Gemarrah, no, the 8th day of Sukkot is its own yontif. Says the Gemarrah, Shmini Shmini is its own yontif. So the Gemarrah counters back and says, no. When do you say that Shmini is its own yontif? Hanimili, that's only said le'inyan pazer kashav. How do they read that? What's pazer kashav? It's a Rashi Tevis. What's the Rashi Tevis? Amachloikas Rashi and Taisus. Rashi says, and we're going to go simply with Rashi. Rashi says that the pay stands for, we can look and say Rashi Pazik Kashev is pious, Zman Regel Korban Shiur blatt. Pious is they made a raffle who is going to do the kabbanas. So that raffle has a certain way, and certain people are assigned who goes into the raffle and becomes Yontif. It's a whole different way of doing it. Zayin stands for Zman, which means you say Shechianu because it's a Yontif. Regel means it has its own name, Shmini Atzeres. Korban, the whole days of Sukkot, you have all these kabbanas that he goes less and less and less and less. Come Shmini Atzeres, Pa Echad, Ayil Echad. Yeah? So Shmini Atzeres has its own Korban. Shiur also singing, the songs that they used to use is not according to what the Seder was in the Beis HaMikdash. They had a certain Seder, which there's another Rashi Tevis, what songs they used to use, but it comes to Shmini Atzeres, there was a different song. And Bracha is on the Shmini Atzeres, it says that the king would give them a special bracha. So this is Pazer Kashev is a Rashi Tevis, all the different things that Shmini Atzeres is different than Sukkos. So when do you say that Shmini Atzeres is different? Only for those things. But for Tashlumim, yes, it's counted as Bar Yontif. Avalin and Tashlum Lishnu. But you can bring a carbon on Shmini Atzeres to make up if you missed on the first days of Sukkos. So we see that on Sukkos you do have 8 days. So now it goes back to the question: why do we say that Shavuos is like Chagas Matzos, is like Pesach, that you only have 7 days to make up? Maybe Shavuos is like Sukkot, that you have 8 days to make up. Why do you say this way, not the other way? And for the Gemarrah, a klal. Let's finish the question. And you can do bring a carbon the entire Yontif of Sukkot and including the Shmini Atzeres. So and for the Gemarrah, the fasta meruba loy to fasta, the fasta mur to fasta. Klal, if you want to grab too much, you're going to walk out with nothing. Grab it a little, and you're going to hang on to it. Basically saying that we can do both ways. But 7 days is for sure. 7 days tashlum because like Pesach, that's for sure. So hold on to that. And if you want to say it's 8, you could say it's not. It's not gonna do anything. And the meforshim explained this this concept. I don't know if it was Tosfos that said it. Oh, Tosfos said tefastamur, tefastos on Tosfos on the bottom here. It's the second on the bottom, the second Tosfos on the bottom. The fishesh b'chlal masayim mone. There's a mone in 200. There's definitely 100. Whatever you hold in your hand is going to be truthful. It's going to be yours. V'yesh meforshim. What's pshat? The lemida muba in kitzva. When you say more, there's no limit to more. But when you say less is there's a limit to less. Meaning you can do, if you say like do as many as you want, there's no limit to it, the word many. But when you say do the lesser part, which there's obviously somewhere, there's a limit somewhere, so that's the tefasta, because you will never be satisfied. There's always more. But the least amount is something you can hold on to. That's what the Tosfos is saying. Another pshat. For the lesser amount, there's always an ending. There's somewhere, there's a limit. So basically, the Gemarrah is telling us the reason why we're going with Pesach versus Sukkot is because Pesach is the lesser amount, Shavuos is more, Sukkot is more, and the faster more with the faster you might end up with no tashlum and all. So therefore, be satisfied, have 7 days of tashlum.
How do you connect Sukkot to this puzzle?
1 second. That's so basically, Amar Ablazam and Boishia. What does the Boishia say? There is the Shlomim, and we learn of Chag HaMatzos and Chag HaShavuos. V'hedi Gemarrah kasha Ela l'mayilchus kas v'echman v'Chag HaSukkos. Like Shlomo is asked, what's the reason we put Chag HaSukkos in the pasuk? And v'hedi Gemarrah l'kushicha l'Chag HaMatzos. So again, Chag HaMatzos is the first yontif mentioned in the pasuk. Any subsequent yontif mentioned, we want to compare it to Chag HaMatzos. We want to compare it to Pesach. So we said Shavuos is like Chag Pesach, but because it has the tashlum of 7 days tashlum. Sukkot is like Pesach for a different reason. Lakush Chag HaMatzos. Ma Chag HaMatzos ton lino. Chag HaMatzos, it says clearly that you have to sleep over that night in Yerushalayim, and all for z.ב-י, then only next morning you go and go back home. Chag HaSukkos is ton lino. So Chag HaSukkos also you have to sleep over in Yerushalayim. You can't just come to Yerushalayim and then go back home. If you go to a wedding, say the wedding. What would you say? Out of town weddings?
Say the whole thing.
You said the whole thing, exactly. Zog the Gemarrah, the Hosim on how do we know the Chag HaMatzos is that we also have to sleep at night? It says in Pasuk, or for z.ב-י, that only in the morning you're going to turn around, and then you're going to go back home. Okay?
It doesn't mean for all 7 days. It just means
No,
for
yeah.
1 day Al Kaponim.
For 1 day, for 1 day upon him. Then when there's also this, it's being discussed whether you have to wait all 7 days or not. And some people ask the question, yeah, for sure you cannot go back on the Yontif night. You come, come Pesach at night, or the come to Sukkot, the first night of Sukkot. You come to Beis Hamikdash in the morning. You bring the Korban, and then what are you going to travel back? It's Yontif. You can't travel in Yontif. So maybe there is Tchum Shabbos. Maybe it's within Tchum. But basically, that's a whole branch. Branching off.
You can't go back.
Yeah, so basically it's okay. Zog the Gemarrah weiter.
Story with her pillow, no? His wife sent him to get eggs. He ended up in Lubavitch. He came back home after 6 months. And said, oh, the eggs!
Came home with chickens. They already hatched.
Or milk.
Yeah. Every night there was something else. Okay. All right. So the Boishia taught us there's tashlum called shiva. Now the Gemarrah is gonna focus on a second thing we said in the Mishnah. Tanan, atzer shecholias be'av Shabbos b'shama oimim yom tvoyach achar Shabbos or b'sila oimim en liyom tvoyach. In the Mishnah we said that if Shavuos falls out on Friday, because we said that we cannot bring a korban oila on Yontif according to Beishamai, therefore the korbanos of Shavuos, which falls on Friday, you bring on Sunday. Beisil says no, there's no shechting day. We learned the Mishnah already touched the way the Gemarrah touched it. My love, the Gemarrah is basically asking a question. My love, there's absolutely no makeup day. And the Gemarrah is basically asking a question of Boishia. How do you, the Boishia, say that there is tashlum called shiva, there's 7 days of makeup days for Shavuos? Basil says that if Friday is Yontif, you can't make it up. Ein lo Yom Tvoach. There's no Yom Tvoach. There's no days of shechting. she'ena tzricha yom tvoach. When a Basil says ein yom tvoach, it says I don't need to have a special shechting day because you can do it on Friday. Okay, so basically we had a question of Oishia. Why would you say that it's a shlum kon shiva? The Gemara answers no. Basil does say that you can. There are makeup days, and when Basil says that there's no day to shecht, it means you don't need to make a special day because you can shecht on Yantif. This question is basically we have two machlekes in the Mishnah. One machlekes is whether you're allowed to bring a korban oil on Yantif or not. Right? B'Shama says no, Basil says yes. And because of that machlekes, we have another machlekes. If Friday is Shavuos, whether you're allowed to bring a korban oil or not. Why do you need both machlekes? You can learn one from the other. If you say that there's no tashlum, so if Friday falls on a Shavuos, Shavuos falls on a Friday, then yeah, obviously you have to bring the korban the next day. So, what is he coming to teach us? The Makavinan B'Yamei, that Basil has come to tell us that we can bring the korban on that day. There's already machlokes with B'Shama and Basil, and you can learn this halacha. The Tanan, B'Shama Mevi'in Shlamim, the beginning of this Mishnah, just a few lines before this machlokes. B'Shama says we can bring a korban shlamim ve'in soim chum leima v'lo oilos. Basil Mevi'in Shlamim ve'oilos. Ve'soim chum you can do bring a korban shlamim, you can bring a korban oila and the smicha. So why can you bring a korban oila? Because you can bring that day. So that's the same thing as later on. But it doesn't make a difference when Shavuos falls out. Unless it's Shabbos, Basil is going to say you can bring the korban that day. Unless and Basil is B'Shama is always going to say you have to bring it the next day. So why do you bring this detailed machlokes when it's really attached to the machlokes whether or not you're allowed to bring a korban oila on Shavuos? We need both machlokes. The iyashminin beha, if you only have the first machlokes, beha ka'amar b'shamai mishum de'ev shalamacham. Avol, it's missing a word here. Avol beha eimim moidela. The first machlokes speaks in general. The first machlokes the Mishnah says it doesn't make a difference. Any day of the week that Yontif falls out, you can't bring a korban oila. That's what B'Shamai says. Any day of the week. So, we would think that this only applies for Yontif that falls out on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Why? Because immediately the next day you can make it up. Maybe B'Shamai would say that if Yontif falls out on Friday, you can bring it on a Friday. Because the next day you can bring it, you're going to push off the Yontif for 2 days, it's not a good thing. So therefore the Mishnah has to bring this machlokes to tell us that in such a case, B'Shamai will tell you, no, you wait till the 2 days. You have to wait 2 days. So that's again. If you would only bring the beginning of the machlokes, because any day of Yontif, you can make up that korban the next day. But if Shavuos falls out on Friday, maybe they'll agree with the Silo that he can bring the korban oil on Friday because he can't make it up the next day. You'll have to wait 2 days. So therefore, we have to have the second machlokes. So why do you need the first machlokes? Teach us the second machlokes, and tell us that it's a special machlokes, and this will teach us that any other day of if Yontif falls out, then any other day of the week, B'Shama will say make it up the next day. If you would only use the second machlokes, Basil says maybe they would say that Basil really agrees with B'Shamai that you can bring it the next day. But Friday, Basil says no. Friday, because I can't bring it the next day, that's why I bring it. But if Yontif falls out on Sunday, bring it on Monday. What's the big deal? So therefore, you need both machlokes. Okay, so basically, what the Gemarrah was trying to knock down the Oishia's proof, and then say basically what's the machlokes B'Sham Basil, and why does the Mishnah have to bring both machlokes? And we say we need both because if you only bring one, then one or the other party will have to agree with this counterpart. Okay. Now the Gemarrah is going to ask another question on this concept of whether or not there's tashlumim. Tashma, come in here. Whoever did not bring the korban during the 7 days of Pesach, or he did not bring a korban Shemanis Yemei Chag, or he did not bring it on Yontif Shel Tzeres. They take out the word Lishain because Shavuos doesn't have a first and a second day. Shavuos only has first days. So Yontif Shel Tzeres, and whoever did not bring the Yontif Shel Tzeres, Einoi Choygek, he cannot make it up. Okay? Sukkos, if you don't bring a korban on the first day of Sukkos, you have within Chol HaMoed, you have time to make it up. If you go through all days, there's no tashlum. That we know already. Pesach is the same thing. You can bring it on the first day. If you don't bring it on the first day, you can make it up the next 7 days. If you don't bring it the next 7 days, you can't make it up. Here the blatt says, same thing is also with Shavuos. If you don't bring it on Shavuos, Shuva in a Chagiga, you cannot bring the Chagiga. My love, Yontev Shel Tzeres. What does it mean? That you cannot make up this korban of the Yontev of Shavuos. And if you think about it, no, the wording is wrong. Loi Yom Tvoyach. The Mishnah really was supposed to say that the day of bringing the shechting the karbanos. So the Mishnah would read like this: whoever does not bring the korban on the first day of Pesach or all the other 7 days cannot bring the korban again. Whoever doesn't bring the korban on the first day of Sukkot or all the other 8 days cannot bring the korban again. Whoever does not bring the korban on the day that you shecht after Shavuos can also not make it up. But this is teaching you that there is a day after Shavuos that you make up. Okay, very good, but then it means you only can make it up one day. It says Yom Tov. Where the machlokes somewhere else where the tashlumim is only 1 day or 7 days. Nifshet mina the chad Yom Tov. Only can only make it up for 1 day because it says Yom Tov. No, if you change it already, change it correctly. That the Mishnah would read, the blatt would read that whoever did not bring a korban during the entire days of Pesach, the entire days of Sukkot, and the entire days of makeup of Shavuos, then he cannot bring it anymore. But now you see very clearly that there are days that you can make up the korban after Shavuos. Okay, so that was the second question on the Boishia, and we knocked it out. Toshma, come in here. The Tani Rabba Bashmuel, the Tani we learned. Rabba Shmuel Amma. The Tana Rabba Shmuel learned. Amma Torah, the Torah said, Menei Yamim, count days, the Kaddish Chodesh. Count days and make Chodesh. So it doesn't really say anywhere in the Torah to count days, and then you make Chodesh. But we know from I guess an unfortunate source that a Chodesh is called 30 days. What does it say by the slav, by the birds that came down from Shemayim, that they would eat? What's it called? Shloshim Yom? It says over there, it says Chodesh also. Over there we know that 30 days, or coming to 30 days, is considered the Eden of Chodesh. But basically, halacha is that once, even if you don't make the month 29 and a half days, technically the moon is not a full 30 days, right? That's how we have all the cheshbonis calculation, the moon and the chalakim and everything. The moon is never a full 30 days or a full 29 days. It's somewhere in between. But the Torah tells us you cannot just make Chodesh starts 12 o'clock in the afternoon with 5 minutes. It doesn't go like that. Chodesh starts that day and the entire day is considered Chodesh. Why? Because you have to have full days. You have to have a minimum of 29 or 30 days, then you can make Chodesh. So Menei Yamim, count the days, it should be at least a full 29 or a full 30, and then you can make a Chodesh, then you can make Yiddish Chodesh. The same thing also, Menei Yamim, count days, 49 days after Pesach, V'Kadash Tzeres, and then you can make the Yontiv of Shavuos on the 50th day. So, Zog the Gemarrah, Ma Chodesh. What's this limud? Ma Chodesh leminuyah of Avatzel's leminuyah. Just like Chodesh, like I said, you have to count fully a full 29 or full 30 days. The same thing also, you have to count a full day in order to make it a Chodesh. The same thing also, Yontif Shavuos, you have to count a full 49 days, and then you can make Shavuos. That's why we by the way, we have this whole halacha that on the first night of Shavuos, you can't make Kiddush until it's for sure Yontif, and therefore we wait till late. But basically, you have to wait and count the entire full 49 days, full day. Once you finish the full day, that's when you can go into Yontif. My love, Gama Mechodesh. You see that he learned something from a Chodesh. So Shavuos, he's learned from a Chodesh. Just like a Chodesh, you have to count full full days, and then we make a Chodesh. Something is also Shavuos. So if you're learning something from a Chodesh, learn something else from a Chodesh. Ma Chodesh Yom Echad. Afat says im Echad. Just like a Chodesh is only one day, the entire Yom Tov of Shavuos is only one day, and you cannot make up any more days. So a question on the Rebbe that tells us that there is 7 days of the Shlum of Shavuos. Amar Rava, so Rava said, the Tizba, do you think this makes sense? Oto Atzeres Yoim Minyan and Shvuah Mininon. In order to get the Shavuos, do we only count days? We also count weeks. V'amar Abaya said, Mitzvah Limim Yoimi. On Shavuos we have a mitzvah to count the days. D'chsiv Tisbu Chamishim Yoim. Or Mitzvah Limim Shavuos is also a mitzvah to count weeks. D'chsiv Shiva Shavuos Tispalach. So when we count, we say by the 7th day we say Shehem Shavua Echad, Shehem Shnei Shavuos. We count the weeks and we count the days. So here we also we can take this whole argument and turn it around and say just like Chodesh, just like Shavuos, when we count it, we count days and weeks. So also Yom Tov Shavuos, even though there's one day of Yom Tov, but there's a whole Shavuot, there's a whole week to make up. The Chsiv Shavuos V'oid Chag Shavuos Chsiv. It also says Chag Shavuos, which is basically the festival of the weeks. So basically, it's coming to teach us. It's just like Shavuos is only one day, but to make up, you can have a whole week. So that's the answer. The Ve'er Abelazar, okay, we're going to stop here, but the next one, he brings a different reason why we can make up 7 days of Yom Tov.
Yeah.